Welcome to Kidmin Backstage, a place where we talk about kids ministry and take a peek behind the scenes. We try to share a little bit of what we've learned that works for us and some of our failures so you can avoid them. We release a new episode every Friday, and this is your Backstage Pass to see the magic or disaster that happens behind the scenes of our kids ministry. I'm your host, Gabe Baker, and today I'm joined by Brother Miles Story. How's it going?
It's good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah, this is a good one. Man, it got this lighting and everything just right, and then that window, we got the sun shining through.
Hey, it's a miracle. It's
it's actually sunny
in Washington in February.
Yeah, well, March when this comes out, but yes.
Yeah.
Shh. All right, well, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about raising the bar.
Raising the bar. So raise the bar. So how much should we expect from kids in Sunday school? And that's kind of the premise of this. And I've thought about this with, I try not to use the term bus kids, but it just seems negative. It's not really, but there's kids that come on the bus or, that don't necessarily come regularly, or even kids on the bus can come regularly, but sometimes they come regularly every Sunday, but they are not like a part of our church as far as they don't come during the midweek and they're not part of various groups or activities. And so there's that faction. I hate to even say that, but I think people know what I mean. And then there's kids like our own kids and, the pastor's kids and, our, the saints of God, whatever. So I think that sometimes we have certain expectations, like for my own kids, for example. I have expectations for them. I raise the bar. And then we can almost, let others off the hook because of their status.
There's almost kind of a little bit of a double standard, and I've almost been guilty of myself.
Yes, I've definitely been guilty of
I've
that.
said, come on, I expect better out of you. You come here all the time. Why are you acting XYZ when it should be standard across the board?
Yeah,
and there's exceptions.
Yes,
there's going to always be exceptions.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that we are the only Sunday school where on some Sundays the kids that come on the bus are better behaved than our regular church kids. I'm sure we're the only Sunday school that happens. But.
Probably not.
But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of the premise is if we raise the bar, and I guess to finish out that opening is I have found, and research shows this too, but I have found through experience that when you raise the bar, kids rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
They like to meet your expectations.
It's all that they like to be challenged. I know we don't think about kids liking to be challenged, but their life's constantly filled with challenges as far as challenges. School challenge with different activities that they do. They like that idea of challenge, and they also like that idea of structure and order and consistency.
Yes.
Kids, speaking from experience, when I was a kid, I needed consistency. I needed structure. I needed order. If it was like free for all, that was not a good place for Miles. Either I was going to be really taking full advantage of it, or I'd be like, no,
over the top.
You got to give me some structure, some order, some boundaries. Like, I was the kind of kid that, in school-wise, I did not like these big, broad writing topics. Nope, you needed to give me a little more clear-cut ideas and areas.
Yes, that's funny. Yeah. I was just imagining a Miles going over the top and just like, I'm going to get the piece of candy.
I don't know. Maybe not quite that. Oh, okay, maybe there was a little time. I was a little mischievous at times. This was before I got the Holy Ghost, though. I got a little more tame afterwards.
All right, well, point number one we have is the power of expectation. And so kids, they're perceptive to our expectations. They will notice. And I think that this applies to positive and negative. So kids will notice, like, I feel like, and this is the part, like, I've been guilty of with the double standard.
Yeah.
Is if I don't expect enough out of them, they notice that. And they will what's the opposite? I mean, like we talk about rise to the occasion, they'll lower to the occasion.
Yeah.
They'll sink to the occasion.
The path of least resistance.
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, okay, I can, I remember, and I'm sure this fits in somehow, but this is like an example of behavior. We had this kid. Every church has that one bad kid, right?
Yeah.
And so his name is, no, I'm just kidding. But we had this kid, he actually, unfortunately, does not come here anymore.
Yeah.
But he was our one bad kid. He was the, Calvin and Hobbes, he was the Calvin,
Oh, boy.
And so he was that kid. And I remember Pastor telling me one time, and I think I talked about this before, but he is just always getting yelled at and getting, disciplined or whatever. Because he's always bad.
Yeah.
He's hyperactive, whatever. And so when you do that, when any authority figure does that, I mean, it doesn't really matter even if it's like, okay, it's not my mom, it's pastor. I mean, maybe make a little difference because of the status. But he said they're so used to it that it just kind of goes in one ear, out the other.
It's absolutely crazy. In preparing for this, I was thinking about a statistic. I did a study on the power of words and how significant words can be.
Oh, wow.
They talk about the study that comes to my mind is for in a dysfunctional family, for every positive word that kid hears, they hear 85 words of negativity. And it talks about that you need to hear 2 to 1 to wipe out the dysfunction. For every words. And I mean, think about the Bible scripture says in Proverbs, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So
that's so true.
So yeah, I mean, we always want to sometimes, especially I find myself sometimes can be a little tough and stern at times, but kids, they need that love and that care, and they sometimes I've seen kids acting out because they want attention.
That's true. I think we see that probably on a weekly basis every Sunday. Because we get kids that never have been here before. They don't, quote unquote, know how to act. And then we have the kids, like we say, we have a higher expectation, like what you're supposed to do. And I think that sometimes they need the attention, and it's hard because it's hard to balance that out sometimes, and navigate that, but. But I have, on the second point there, is kind of what you talk about. When we communicate our belief or our doubt in kids, they meet that expectation. Whatever that expectation is, they meet that. And so when we communicate, and a lot of it, what is it, 80% is nonverbal, So a lot of our communication is not necessarily overt. It's not necessarily that we are, saying, I believe you can do it, but our actions say it.
Yeah.
And so when we I was thinking about this actually in altar service in our last Sunday school. I was thinking of that is when there's certain kids that they tend to pray, they're our church kids, and they tend to pray pretty good every time. And so I thought about that, and I thought about, can we raise our expectation and what the kids feel our expectation is? Because I see some of them just staring off in the distance. And I know this happens in every Sunday school, but could we get to a place where it was so powerful that nobody was staring?
I think we could, because, I mean, we know God's the same all the time.
Yeah.
And let's even look at children's church for August services.
Yes.
And the power,
it's powerful.
I mean, those are some powerful moves of God that we've had, but I think it's because their expectations of this is August services.
Shift.
We're gonna get an altar, and we're gonna somebody's gonna have a illustration, and we're gonna have a move of God, and there's that expectation and that anticipation there.
Yes.
Where sometimes unfortunately, we can get into the rut and routine. Okay, this is Sunday school. We're gonna do our 6-minute prayer.
Go through the motions,
and then hurry! We gotta hurry because pastor's gonna hurry up and finish, and we won't get snack this week.
Yeah, yeah. We have been trying to incorporate snack into the theme and even the Bible story a little bit more, so we get it earlier. But because we know that many kids, that's what they're coming for. I mean, not in our Sunday school, but
no. Are you kidding me? I remember when I got transitioned out of Sunday school, and it was like the first couple of weeks, I'm like, my stomach, oh man, I was so hungry. I was like, man, can I just go back? Man, I'm hungry. I want snack again.
That's funny.
And then even there's been points when I went back into teaching for Sunday school, and then I took a little break, and I was like, man, I want to go back to teaching Sunday school. I'm hungry now.
That's funny. Get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to that little snack time break.
Yeah, well, it's funny because downstairs they have the younger kids. We do 5 through 11 up here, but downstairs they have 2 different classes. But one of them, I don't know, the other one probably does food too. But the one's out and kind of in the open, and they're like prepping. They're cutting up bananas and just they got all these little plates and stuff. I'm like, man, what do you guys got going on here?
I know my brother's got one in that age group, and forget him eating lunch ever.
Yeah, and they don't skip snack.
No, snack is that's the snack, the main thing.
That's the anchor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's good though what you said. Coming back to the altar service, I think that maybe what we should focus on, this is the backstage part, I guess, of our Sunday school and this podcast, is maybe what we can do is put more of a focus on, like on the altar service before it's at altar service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like saying, hey, coming up, maybe there's different ways that we can do that. Like we're doing offering and just like kind of point at it, maybe subtly or something. Yeah. That might be kind of cool. Like I remember taking a parenting class a long time ago, and one of the things they talked about, I think is really good, and it could be a podcast of its own. But they talked about talking to your kids about behavioral issues or whatever in times of non-conflict.
Yeah.
So they say, like when there's conflict, you're I don't know, yelling or you're getting onto them. But in times of non-conflict, when you're getting along, you're playing catch, whatever, and like, hey, this is how we need to act. Okay, so I brought all that up to say this is maybe before it's altar time, because when we're doing the lesson even, and often what we do in our Sunday school is we'll have somebody teaches the lesson and they pass it off to the person that does the altar invitation. It's not they're just kind of what we're doing is including people, and so I know that sometimes the same person would do both. But anyway. So during that lesson and during that altar call, we do focus on that. So if we counted that as a conflict time, instead try to, in the non-conflict, before altar ever comes around, we're pointing at it.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a way, on a micro level, I guess, because like you said, in our August event, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot going on, and so everybody's expectation is raised. But maybe we can do that in a micro sense, and raise the expectation. So point number 2, and this kind of fits into that, is inspiring atmosphere. And so I think, we do really cool sets, and that's a big thing that's a part of our Sunday school. But I think that when we create engaging classrooms, or a lot of Sunday schools that listen to our podcast have separated out classrooms. We kind of have mainly one that we do. And so we do these big sets and we move from different rooms and stuff. But when we can create these engaging classrooms, big sets, and we interact with kids in a positive way, we set the stage for them to grow and for them to be inspired, for them to want to do more or whatever,
And it's crazy as far as like I've been up here for a little while now. I've seen the growth and the changing. It's like I was thinking even this morning how we're starting to get to the transition where we're starting like all our older kids are like we're starting to lose all of them, and so now, like we're getting.
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild.
Makes you feel old, huh?
It does make me feel old. Yeah. But I was thinking about as far as creating an engaging classroom, as far as believing in the kids, as far as believing and putting faith in that they can rise to the occasion.
Yes.
I remember hearing a story many, many years ago. I can't take any credit for this, but there was a brand new teacher that came to a school to start teaching. It was I believe it was like a high school or a middle school. It was a high school.
Okay.
It was a high school. And they, unfortunately, in this school, they had some notorious rough kids that basically there was teachers that were saying, listen, if you put this person in my class, I'm done. I'm out. I'm retiring. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
So unfortunately, they gave all the troublemakers, all the bottom of the barrel kids to this one teacher. She would have them all the time. They wouldn't.
So she had the worst
they wouldn't.
ones.
They wouldn't go from class to class to class. So she had them all the worst ones.
Oh, wow.
Well, she started looking through their files and looking and seeing, and she's like, that doesn't seem right. Look through this other person's file. That doesn't seem right. She started going to one individually, one by one, and says, listen, you can do this. You can do better work. I believe in you. Listen, I know you can. Come on, just give me a little more effort. Give me a try. Come on, I want you to try.
Yeah.
So over the whole span of the year, all these kids, they were kind of chewing gum, smacking. But as time went by, she kept on setting that standard and saying, hey, you guys can do better. You guys can do more. You can, come on.
Yeah.
I believe in you guys. You
Wow.
guys got more potential. They started sitting up in class. They started writing notes. Their grades started coming up. Their GPA started coming up.
Wow.
They started doing amazing. Now this is the hilarious part of the story, unfortunately. So she looked in their case files and she saw what she thought was their IQ levels: 123, 138, 140. That was what their locker numbers.
Oh my goodness! So she is like.
She really thought that they had the
average IQ is 96, and so she thought these
kids were
geniuses.
Geniuses. Nope, that was all their locker numbers. But it's still just, it puts in perspective what power is when somebody will believe in you and somebody will put forth the effort. How kids can rise to the occasion, and they can. When you set the bar, they'll rise. They'll come up.
That's awesome! Oh, that is so cool.
It's kind of comical, but it really puts in perspective that kids will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and she was, and I think you can be sincere without being mistaken like that. But she was totally sincere because she believed it.
She believed it.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because if we can look at when we, we were talking about older kids going out, and so I'm youth leader as well.
Yeah.
So they transition from Sunday school into youth, and so it's crazy because I see like a bunch of our younger aged youth were just in Sunday school. It seems like yesterday, and so. But I'm getting old enough to where it's like a blink of an eye that these are like, they're starting to get married. I mean, these are like young people that are going to be thriving in our church, and they just came out of Sunday school.
Yeah, so it seems.
Yeah, it's so the point I'm making is, let me preamble it one more. I remember we did. Were you in the space theme?
I helped take down space theme. I had not started
so that
helping
was right
yet.
when you started. Okay, right after. So we did space theme, and we rotate themes. I mean, we don't always rotate themes, but we try to wait on a theme like 5 or 6 years because of the 5 through 11 age group. And so we did. It was kind of a joke, but we had this big tote that has a bunch of our space. It has like our silver costumes.
Yeah.
It's like 10 of them or something. All these shoes, they're silver shoes, and they have lights on the bottom. Hats, just all this stuff. And not everything fit in a tote. We have scene setters and stuff. But we did all this, and then we put a piece of tape and my daughter wrote on it, time capsule, do not open until 2027.
Is it really? It's already coming out?
Right.
Well,
and so that's my point is, in 2 years. But my point is when we did that, I remember a few people like, oh, I won't even be here, or I won't, I don't know, 20. I was like, yeah, you wait, you see. And so that's not too far away, a couple years away. And
2 years.
Yeah, so those
I know
people,
why I said next year. I've been looking at dates and stuff.
So time flies, I guess, is what I'm kind of saying. And so when we can invest in these kids, and we raise the bar and raise our expectation of them, who knows what they'll become?
Yeah, I mean, they are the up and coming church.
Oh yeah, major part of Okay, moving on to point number 3, which is the title of our episode here, is raise the bar. So we kind of talked about all this, these overlap, but kids thrive when faced with challenges that push them slightly beyond their current abilities. And then my second point, because I want to talk about both of these, is don't lower the bar to accommodate those that are less able or less engaged. So pull everyone to the standard. I have seen this where people will, I've experienced it. I've butted heads with people about this before, like in our school, for example.
Okay.
But back when I was an administrator of the school, I have always been probably, if I'm honest, I'm probably too far the other way. But I have always been a proponent of raising the bar and saying, come to the standard. And not like, oh, let's make it easy for so-and-so. And so I know that some people, they feel, and I understand this, but they feel bad about, little Johnny that can't jump as high as the other kids, or, to use a physical example, or little Johnny who he just can't memorize scripture like the other kids can memorize scripture. And I guess one of my things is often it's just an excuse.
Yeah.
But the other thing is if you don't want to lower the bar to Johnny, to use his name, you don't want to lower the bar to him, and then these others are not going to reach their potential.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to push. You have to keep that bar high, so everybody else is pulled up to that standard.
I'm thinking of somebody that I'm related to. They were that kind of person that they needed that constant pushing and stuff. They had, especially musically, they had. I mean, I was jealous in a godly way, but I was
godly. I mean that in a good Christian way.
In a very Christian way. I mean it. I was jealous. I mean, it seemed like they sat down and they were just clink, 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 clink. And then the next day, I mean, they're just playing songs. Talk about vocally wise. I mean, make myself a little bit vulnerable here. When I first started trying to sing, my mom told me I sounded like a dying cow. I mean, when it comes to singing wise, I mean, I've had to put forth a lot of effort and a lot of just like.
And this, folks, is not the inspirational environment we're talking about.
This is not the inspirational. But hey, it challenged me enough that those words that just hit me just the right way. I was that kind of kid that I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep on pushing it. And we struggled through a couple song service, but hey, nobody died. But anyway, back to my family member I'm talking about. They, I mean, got it. I mean, can just do X, Y, Z, and I'm over here. But but they needed that. They needed that challenge. They needed that pushing force to succeed and excel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do think that, in all of this, kids do thrive when they have challenges that push them. And you do have to support, you have to have that support there. But the other thing, and it was kind of on the last point, but it fits here, is if you could celebrate the wins. And so when they do finally, memorize that memory verse or whatever, then you celebrate like, wow, you did incredible. That was awesome. Even if everybody else got it right away and they had to struggle, when they get it, just like, instead of like, it's about time, we need to be like, man, that was awesome. You did it. This is great. And we have done that. Like, we've had on occasion, we do memory verse several different ways, but sometimes we'll have kids come up and they'll get in the mic and say it or whatever. And so we have some rock stars that, they're in Bible quizzing or whatever, and they can just get up there and do it. But then we have some that they'll want to try, and you just know when they're coming up that they do not know it, but we'll give them a shot. And the key, I think, is to still be like, man, that was a good try. You didn't get it right, but that was really good.
Yeah.
There's one other thing with that is I remember reading, so we do 5 through 11, and so I kind of say that I don't know, we target 8 years old maybe
Yeah.
or something like that. But they say that, or what I read is that when you are teaching an age range of kids, that you should target towards the top range, because the younger ones might not quite understand it, but they'll raise to that level. Whereas if you target the lower, then the older ones will think it's dumb.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and so we do try to target kind of the middle, but it's an interesting concept to think about with our 11-year-olds, 10, 11-year-olds, making sure that it is, and I think it is, but making sure that it's cool enough, that they're not too cool for Sunday school.
Yeah.
All right, so number 4 is, I put in there, I just put a title just mainly to remind myself, but Talents Parable. So I would guess that most everybody listening to this podcast knows the parable of the talents. But basically a brief overview is, the rich man is going on a trip. He has his servants. He gives one 10 talents, one was it 5, and the other one 1. And there's another one about the cities and all of that. But he gives them different talents. And so, of course, the first 2 double it, and then the one that has the one buries his talent, and he gets in trouble.
Yeah.
We've done this story many times in Sunday school. I think that I talk about this, that God has given us a mandate through our pastor. God has given us a job to do in Sunday school. We have this. If I could take this out of context a little bit, we have this talent that we've been given. We've been given this job to do, this Sunday school. And so I think that we risk being the servant that buried the talent when we just go through the motions, like we talked about earlier. When we just go through the motions and just put our time in on a macro level of years and on a micro level of today, let's just get through today. When we do that, we bury our talent. We're burying what God has given us. And instead, we need to invest, because then what kind of growth can we see come out of these kids?
Exactly.
It's powerful. I mean, it's really powerful when you think about these kids, what they can become. And so, and that's what I wrote, is take your Sunday school to the next level and watch God give the increase. When we invest in these kids and we help, raise the expectation, raise the bar, and say, yes, you, who, me? Yes, you. You can. We have a singing group that Anisha works with every day, every Sunday after Sunday school. And so it's actually 2 groups. We have like an A and a B group. And so it's fun for them and all of that. But I tell them all the time, I tell them they got to have energy and stuff, but I tell them, you guys need to set an example.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being in this group, is now you are an example. And so my idea there, and I could do better, but is to raise expectation level. Is like, hey, you can be a leader. You could be, who knows, you might preach one day. You might lead songs one day, or sing on the platform.
Exactly.
And we see it.
We do see it.
We have kids in choir, that were in Sunday school.
We do. We have them in choir. We have them. This is before my time, but it was interesting. I get to, on Sunday mornings, I'm part of that little small choir group, and
the chorale,
the chorale, and I think I'm the oldest there, and I'm looking around, I'm like,
really?
I'm like, wow, because it's just amazing as far as what's happened, taking place here, as far as the bar being set. Just the amount of young people that, they're good.
Oh yeah.
But it's not just an overday thing. It's been practice and practice
culture,
and pushing and man, my mind just went blank.
Oh.
I just went
live
blank.
on the podcast.
I know. Went blank. Anyway, it must not have been too important because it went blank. That's what I thought.
I used to hate that when I'd be like, I forgot what I was going to say. My aunt, and she's awesome, but she would always, well, it must not have been very important. I'm like, no, it was. It was going
to tie in my whole thought. It was going to make it sound articulate, but anyway.
It was going to be amazing.
It was, at least I thought it was, but apparently not so much. But
well, with that, let's do a recap because we do need to kind of wrap up a little bit. So the power of expectations. There is so much power in that expectation, and I think again it's in the positive and the negative side. When we expect too little out of kids, we're going to get what we expect. Yes. I think it's Peter Drucker, the management guru, that talks about you don't expect what you don't inspect or something. It's like basically he's talking. It's kind of a catchy rhyme, but it's basically that things are not going to be operating at top level if you're not watching them and paying attention.
Yeah.
To them. It's like finances. If you don't watch it, your money is just gone.
It's just
It's
gone.
like, where did it go? Yeah. And so the same thing, if we're not on it and we don't manage our expectations, and boy, talking about our disasters and magic, I think that we could do way better on this is raising expectation and letting kids know, hey, yes, you can be better. You can be great. You can do things for God. So we can do better on that. And then the inspiring atmosphere. I think that we do, we nailed this one. No, we need work in all of them. But I do think that, we have really cool scenes and everything. The part that we need to work on with inspiring atmosphere is probably our interaction with kids, between staff and kids.
Yeah.
So I think that we have the epic scenes. We have the decor is pretty cool. I mean, obviously, we can always raise the bar for ourselves. We can always do better. But we have that's pretty cool, and we do. I do want to do better in our acting, but we do full on acting and costumes and everything, and we have enough staff to do that. But when we are interacting as a staff person, not an actor, but as a staff person with kids, I think we can do better.
Yeah.
With the inspirational atmosphere, because I think that myself included, too often we can be like that kid that wants the attention, like you said.
Yeah.
We can be like, Johnny, sit down. Stop acting out. And then number 3 is raise the bar. So raise the bar, of course, is the title of our episode. But when you raise the bar, kids, they will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, they will.
They'll meet your expectations. And then the talents parable. We've been given this job to do. Don't bury it.
Yeah.
As a Sunday school teacher, expand it.
Yeah. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity that we got before us as far as teaching children that are pliable and moldable.
Oh, man.
They many years ago, before I ever moved here, I kind of unfortunately had the mindset and even the kind of the attitude at times, well, I feel like I'm just babysitting back here.
Oh, yeah.
Man, and I wish I could go back and I could do things differently. The opportunity that I was given there at that place at that time.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something I think all Sunday school leaders and teachers and kidmin, teachers or whatever you want to call us, I think that we all have that stigma, or I don't know how you want to say it, but we all want to vehemently say we are not babysitters.
Yeah.
And we want, I guess, the rest of the church to understand, hey, we're not babysitting up here. That's not what we're doing.
We're putting in some work.
Yeah. And so, but I think that if we fall back on that, and if you're outside of it looking, at Sunday school teachers and think, oh, they're babysitting the kids for, whatever, then I think that that's the talent parable. That's where we're burying it. If we're babysitting, we're burying it. We're not maximizing the potential of anybody.
Exactly.
And so we want them to realize in two different ways. We want them to mentally realize their potential. We want them to realize, as in the verb. We want them to step into their potential. And and yeah, we've been given an awesome opportunity. I mean, the return on investment with kids is pretty incredible compared to other people. So when we invest in these kids and help them realize their potential, it's a powerful impact that we can have.
Oh man, I just thought of, I know we're starting to run out of time here, but what is that scripture? Cast your bread upon the water and then the shall return.
Oh yeah, that's good. All right, that's a wrap.